all, 118 Set Shadow here. Let's see what's going on with today's market. And we're going to be starting with effect triggers again because it's been a while since we've looked at them, and there's still some heaping value that's piling on a few of these cards. And I think if you're taking a look at the first card in the whole list, which is Bard of Heavenly Song Alpec, that's the original rare copy, which has a market price of almost $7 and is now only available for $13 and higher. Despite the fact that this card has a number of different printings overall, and even if you take a look at the triple drive reprint of it, $10 right there with a market price of about $6.50. Other cards, Diablo's Girls Natalia has been up there for some time, and it's still there at about $9 for the original rare. There are only 7 listings on the market too, so it's still more than Bard, but still less than 10 overall in terms of listings. There's also Cardinal Draco and Pyro, which the original from set 2 here is also a big seller at $8 at the lowest right now, with a market price that's closer to $5.50 though. The triple drive reprint is also up here for $9, which has a slightly higher market price in comparison at about $6. Yeah, if you take a look at the 2023 reprint of Alpec, now it's been bought out to the point of $13 with a market price closer to $70. Of course, Palvi, as we saw earlier too, is still up there in price too. This is the 2023 version, which is now $20 at its lowest, but a market price of about $11, which is still high for an effect trigger that's been reprinted a few times. Draw triggers are not very high anymore. They're mostly around the $1 or $2 rate. And then critical triggers really depend, but they're still a bit more significant than draw triggers tend to be. Like Steam Deviate Dragon, this is the 2023 reprint of it, is now $6.50 with only 5 listings. Burning Flails Festival 2023 reprint is $10. Alana is $3 to $5 between the original and the triple drive version. And other crit triggers, there are not as many that are up there, but the triple drive reprint for Stem Deviate is on the cheaper side at about $2.50. So ultimately, there's just a lot of variance for the crits. The draw triggers tend to be pretty cheap now, but the front triggers are still incredibly valuable for just being rares or higher, and certain ones, depending on the nation, are really up there now. Fiend Beast Ushinoimaru, which I'm looking at the frame rare for this one specifically, which comes out of DivineZ 5. This is Malworm support for Varga Draga's Raksha. There are only 4 listings on the market for this card, and I think I covered it once before, and I wanted to see where it's at now, considering that Raksha has been going back up in value. We're looking at 2 recent sales of about $8 on this card, and it's moving. 4 listings on the market that start off a little under $7 to begin, but then they move their way up to $10. It's a pretty solid card overall for Varga, where it basically just gives Varga the ability to get even more power when going for a lot of massive swings. And effectively, the more your Vanguard swings in a turn, the more you'll want to have this, so that it's just really, really difficult to block the card. Basaga stuff like Trick Moon has been falling out in value, and now you can pick up any of its copies except for the SP for under $10 right now. There's the original from set 4, the reprints from set 9 and Triple Drive, and set 4 also had an SP of this, which is currently as low as $75. But the market prices on all the other ones are still above $15 for the most part, except for the Triple Drive one. But base listings are now $8 to almost $10, so it's much easier to pick up Trick Moon than it was before. But Vairlord is actually going up in value again. It's now $28 at the lowest with 12 listings. And despite the fact that this card is more than likely going to get its restriction called out sometime this month, I think. Yeah, it's about $30 now, where it had a fallout all the way into the teens, where you could have picked this card up for as low as 13 to 14 for a little while, and now it's just back up there. But if it does finally get the announcement that it will only be one per deck, I think this card will effectively just drop really far down, considering that you won't even need more than one copy. If you have been to Round 1 Arcade in the past month, and you got the Having Fun at Round 1 promos, they're now available on TCG Player if you are looking to get rid of them, or if you weren't able to go to Round 1 and you couldn't get these promos, now you can get them on TCG Player as well. So there are 2 promos here that you can pick up. Technically, there will be 4 once the foil listings of these are also available. Akina Myodo's version is $13 at the lowest right now with 13 listings on the market. It has already sold in playsets for about $14 to $16 so far. And there was a $15 sale when it first went up. And then, of course, there is the Nao Inabe version of this card, which is a little bit higher. $16 at the lowest. This one has 11 listings. And this one has sold quite a bit already. For the most part, it's been selling for around $14 and so far topped out at about $16. Although it looks like there was actually a $20 sale, which I might have missed. In any case, availability for this one, which is anticipated to be the more popular of the 2, is around $15 right now. So I'd say that's in line. If you wanted to pick these up at Round 1, then you did have to pay at least $10 to refuel your Round 1 card. So effectively, these cards are $10 a piece at bare minimum when you think about that. This card did not get a feature with the episode for Magnolia. Honest Rendition Sincere, which has been one of the biggest triple rares to pick up from DivineZ 8, has not been really moving its way back upward. Despite the fact that Leonorn is going to be getting new support in DivineZ 11, the card has fallen off. There are now 24 listings available for around $16, a little higher than that. And the Silver Rare now has listings as low as $22.50, but the Double Frame Rare is still up there at over $98 if you want to pick that up. Battle Sister Cocoa. Now that we've got Minerva upcoming with DivineZ 9 for this month, we're looking at $23 at the lowest with a market price of about $16 on the triple rare. The silver rare is currently available for about $24, so it's not too far off if you want to pick that up instead, and we'll take a look at that in some detail in a second. But the FFR only has one listing available at $120 right now with a market price of about $54. The silver rare's availability, there's only one listing at about $24. After that, it jumps right up to $40 if you want to pick this card up. But listings that have sold so far, even throughout the end of July, they have been $20 to about $25. So we haven't seen this card sell much higher than that so far. A Little Demonic Method Valefr has been seeing a drop-off for the last few months where this had been bought out to the point of $40 to even $50, but now we're looking at $30, which is still high, but it's certainly cheaper than it was before. And we haven't seen this card sell since the end of July, back on the 25th, where it sold for $42 per copy. And for the most part, it was still selling in the high 30s. And as far as availability goes for the card, it still makes its way back up to the high 30s after a few listings that are in the low 30s. So ultimately, the card is still up there. And as I was saying, with Artisario getting a little bit of attention recently, not support, but attention in some of its other cards, this card is still a good contender to play in that deck. Ace units are not really doing too hot right now from Festival 2025. They're cheap to pick up, but you have to remember they're basically like Regulus pieces. You only play one per deck, and you can only use their main skill once per game. And on top of that, they're just the awkward grade 2s that have no shield value, and yet for some reason they have intercept. But as an example of pricing, Vermeil Exordia, which is for Brantgate, now has a base price of about $5 with 20 listings on the market, and it's been selling pretty consistently at that point. In terms of its availability per listing, we have a lot of copies on the market that are sitting around $5. So it really just becomes a matter of when we start to really see that buyout just kind of move its way in there. Because these cards are only in Festival 2025, and just like Regulus pieces, eventually, once they start to see a whole lot more play, they just end up spiking really high at some point. So I would not be surprised if the Ace units ended up in that same position. Galleon Mechanical Agility, Valtrosa, and Liel, specifically the reprint that comes out of Festival 2025, is the most valuable of the dual nations right now, and also the lowest in listings. There are 6 listings of this card right now, and they have been selling for around $13 pretty consistently, $12 to $13 overall, and when it comes to its availability right now, it's about $13 plus. Some of the other dual nations are definitely up there in value, but in terms of their availability plus their value, Valtrosa and Liel is currently on top right now. If you're looking to build the toy deck that's coming out in DivineZ 9, I would definitely pay attention to Avarice Wrester, as you might find yourself wanting to try this in there. And thanks to Leolodium before, this card just got a massive buyout, considering it's also from DivineZ 2. Listings for this card are not cheap right now. As a double rare, it's still over $20 to pick up, and it barely has any listings on the market right now amongst all of its copies. The silver rare has the most amount of listings at 10 listings overall, but it's the highest priced at $32 plus. While the frame rare is currently about in line on its lowest listing with the double rare, so it's about $21 to $23 to pick those up on the low end. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys later.